Yeah. OnChain Revolution, you're not bullish enough. OnChain Revolution, you're not bullish enough. Every day we steady looking at the market, and we gon' tell you how to get started. Chain abstraction, fear and greed index, always looking at price action. Woke on advance, you don't even gotta mention. I swap it in the deck, you're not bullish enough. Traded in the segs, you ain't trenching enough. We do that market recon. Too much Bitcoin, gotta go to rehab. Shizzy and Yagobi. OnChain Revolution, network in the art. Every day we go live, baby, you know where we are. We mention all the networks and the crypto. Need some more liquidity, flipping and trading is the recipe. Too many protocols to count. I get high and I'm never coming down. Number go up, then I'ma say peace. Yeah, you thought that I was gonna leave. Yeah, we just getting started, man. OnChain Revolution. Every day. Bring the beat back. Eyes everywhere, gotta be careful with volatile meme coins. You can get some bread if you round trip it, then you gon' regret. All this information in my head. BYOR, touch grass instead. Nobody really knows how it's gonna end up today. Somebody gotta tell you what's happening today. I don't let the money change me, no way. OnChain Revolution, here to stay. Yeah, say I'm sage, man. Voodoo 2 on the way. Yeah. Nickies. Yeah. OnChain Revolution. OnChain. Hey, OnChain Revolution. Bitcoin not an illusion. Market recaps, then I do a roll call. You're not bullish in the vocal. Look at the price action, change. Yeah, send it to the deck. Yeah, sell it through the stack. Order knows the best. Too much Bitcoin, gotta go to read. If you end up bearish, gotta put the knee pad. Let me see the comments. Look at the fear and greed index. Bridge. Look at the chart.
Welcome back to OnChain Revolution. My name is Shizzy on the channel. We cover the entire Bitcoin crypto ecosystem. What's up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the OnChain Hour, and right now we have Bitcoin sitting at 103,982. So this morning we popped up to about 106. It felt fake, right? I don't know about you guys. When I was staring at it, I was like, ugh, it doesn't feel right, because it wasn't right. It was a bunch of market manipulation due to some basically. You had some things finishing up. You had the Deribit options kind of closing or expiring, right? So a lot of people are closing them, and they went up. They took it up. They closed them at 106, and now they're closing them at 104. They're making sure that they do not lose money on this, because market manipulation does feel like it is happening right now. But you know, it's summer right now, right? It's June, and you know, a lot of people, including myself, we're saying I think we're going to have bullish summer, and the M2 money supply does look like it's deviating a little bit, but Colin does say that is normal. So it's hard right now, guys, because it's just there's nothing to really kind of look forward to except this chart. So we're going to cover this in depth today. Really looking forward to that. And we got a lot of other stuff happening in the markets as well. We're going to cover the I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There's not much happening in right now. I'm trying here, guys, but we're gonna cover some stuff. We do have Jake Gallen joining us at 12. We're gonna cover what Fluid is doing with alkanes. A lot of people don't know. We got some in-depth exclusive this morning from Raul, so we're gonna cover that as well. So without further ado, bring our partner here as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
What's up, man? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling a little bit, for the first time, probably punched in the gut a little bit, but
yeah,
it's not too bad. I think we're going through like a little bit of a deviation phase of the M2 global supply, but remember, we've still defended that $102,000 mark. You said it exactly. There was some manipulation that happened overnight. It's crazy because a lot of the indicators at different time frames were lining up pretty nice for a rise up, and it did happen, but it kind of happened. I think it was like a little bit sped up because of possibly some of these options platforms wanting to get close to that max pain price, which is 106 for Bitcoin and 2600 for Ethereum, right? And as close as they could get would really limit how much they lost in terms of their profit. And the options expired at 3 a.m. Central Time. That's the area that I'm in. And the price happened to be 105,800. So, you know, that momentum carried over to the morning, getting to that 106. But you're right. And then as soon as they kind of cleared those options expiring, it was time for Wall Street to kind of bring it down and make some money on the downside. So that seems like what's happening right now, a bit of market manipulation. I think possibly we challenge that 102,000 again tonight. You know, kind of like we've been doing the past couple Fridays. It's weird. It's like Friday's not a great day for Bitcoin, but we'll see. We'll see if we defend it. I think we will, but they're definitely bringing it down today from where it was.
Yeah, 100% agree. And on top of that, yesterday with the holiday, and then today, it feels like a continuation of yesterday, right? And yesterday felt like a Saturday, so I feel like we're sitting on 2 Saturdays, and we're about to have another one tomorrow. And I definitely feel bearish for the next 48 hours. But then like you said, the Sunday, we could see a movement up. We need a headline, bro. We need something. I just can't see Bitcoin really rising while the war is happening, while the Fed is still tightening. Like, it's just we need a catalyst. We need something to look forward to. Markets are always forward looking, and right now, I mean, the next Fed meeting is July 31st, and then going into that, we don't have another one after that till September. So they take off the summer. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's one of those things right now where it's like, it's hard to be bullish. And, it does feel like a bear market. It feels like we've been in a bear market for an entire year, minus the Trump pump. That was kind of manipulated like to the upside, especially with AI projects. But yeah, I don't know, man. It definitely feels like we're in a bear market right now.
Yeah, but okay, so I see where you're getting the sentiment from, and this really kind of goes and shows, if there's anybody that's new in the audience today, that this is basically the time frame of the crypto life that we live. I mean, like,
Yeah.
a day is a week. I'll keep saying a week is a month is a year, and we forget that we just hit 111,500 not too long ago, right? But it feels like it was so long ago. So we did have that rise up. And the difference, one thing I saw with Colin Talks Crypto recently, he was saying that we're kind of in the similar deviation period from the M2 global supply as February of this year. That made me not feel great, because I remember February and March and it didn't feel good. The difference is, in my opinion, was there wasn't an upwards trajectory necessarily in those 2 months. We've had upwards trajectory. So the deviation, in my opinion, in my eyes, if we're still going to stay true to this M2 global indicator chart, that we've been looking at, is the deviation won't be long lasting, because we have to kind of be a magnet again and get back on track of this uptrend that is supposedly giving us a forecast, right? So that's my mindset. Until we break down below 102, 101, 100,000, head maybe to 95, that's where I'll be like, I got to really stop probably relying so heavily on it.
Yeah, but let's just say Bitcoin does go to 113, 114, but nothing else really moves with it. I mean, it's still not, you know what I mean? When I say bear market, I don't mean for Bitcoin, right? I mean for everything else. Ethereum was at 14, now it's at like 24. So it did have a huge up, but that was it felt like that was manipulated down as well. BlackRock buying up over $1 billion in June of Ethereum, right? So I don't know. We'll see. It just sucks for today, because there's just nothing really to look forward to, except this chart right here. So let's dig right into it. So bullish summer or bearish trap. So that's the kind of thing here. Let me share my screen. I thought I had it up, but I did not. Okay. So here's right here. This is the chart. So this is Colin's 83 day. He always just kind of changes the day to kind of make it feel. No, but I like that though, because it's this one is the closest one, 83. It's 3 of them, right? 78, 83, and
71. 71, 78,
yeah.
and 83. Yeah.
I mean, they're 10 days separate.
Yeah,
right?
and they're not that much different from each other, by the way. I mean, they're still like close. It's not like he's only using one because it's right spot on or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And as you can see, the yellow line is the MC money supply, the orange line is the Bitcoin price. So he's basically pointing out this right here. So back in March, the MC money supply just fell off a cliff, completely fell off a cliff, dropped drastically. But Bitcoin didn't do that. Bitcoin was slow and steady, just but it eventually did catch back up, right? This came back up, this came back in, caught back up here, and deviated one more time over here. we're getting that deviation once again, and it does happen. Like, it's not like, you know, deviation. So it doesn't follow it completely, but they always catch back up. So to me, this is showing me that we should be back. You know, we should kind of, like you said, like a magnet, kind of get back there. But whether that takes August, September, who really knows, right?
Yeah. Well, and also one of the big things that he had mentioned before is, hey, don't use the M2 supply as a price forecast or indicator. Use it as a zoomed out directional indicator. So if you zoom out, even in the deviated moments where that wasn't a full-on inverse situation, but it didn't dip like the M2 supply did, obviously it actually propped up a little bit. But like if you zoom out and you were to draw trend lines, they both are trending down, right? So you have that down direction. Same thing here. If you zoom out and you draw trend lines, they're both going to have, obviously this needs to come back up and be a magnet again, and that's what most of us think is going to happen. Then you see that the direction, the M2 global money supply takes Bitcoin into that upward direction. So I think that's like an important thing to look at if you're going to use this as like your, you know, one of your resources to kind of let you know where Bitcoin's possibly heading in the next couple of months, right? But where people, I think, get impatient is they want everything instant gratification. That's just how society is. iPhones, little screens, all this stuff. So when something isn't like spot on, and when you lose or gain monetary value, that's emotional. Then you start to say, okay, this doesn't work anymore. Well, you got to zoom out, right? And so I'm still on in the camp that this is going to kind of give me a forecast of Bitcoin probably defending some you know, price point areas. To me, it's that 100 through 100,000 to 102,000 really needs to be well defended, and then getting back to the mid 100s, and then possibly trying to go for a new all-time high in the beginning of July. I've always said that. I've said it even last week or the week before. Like, we got 2 weeks left in June. June's never been like this, you know, consistently great month. It's actually been consistently not so great. So the fact that it started off good, the last 2 weeks not being the greatest, that's not too much of a shocker for me. But if we don't have any type of bounce back up in early July, I'd be a bit concerned. Early to mid July, I would say.
Yeah, but let's go back to over here, right? This is last summer. This is June, July, August, right? It was the money supply was sideways as well, so that's the one part of it. But Bitcoin's price was just completely sideways. What if we get that again? What if we deviate more and we head over to August? We're still between 100 and 105, and then start moving up in September, and eventually maybe catch up a little late. I mean, this chart would still be right technically because we did go up. We might get some sideways here before we do it, and that could be August.
Yeah, but sideways would actually be okay in this instance, in my opinion, because you're still, you know, defending the $100 to $102, $103,000 mark, going sideways,
Alts
right?
would bleed out though.
They would bleed out. They would bleed out. They would bleed out, but they wouldn't bleed out necessarily as if Bitcoin had dropped to 95K. If Bitcoin dropped to 95K, you're going to see huge gut punches in the alt market. You know, as we've seen actually last summer, a couple of times it happened, I believe. We've seen what happens when that happens, right? It's not a good picture. But now, if it does go sideways for too long, though, it breaks the in my opinion, it breaks the integrity of this chart, because it cannot go sideways until, you know, August. If it goes sideways until August, then we're talking about just too much of a deviation outside of it. And like, if you look in October of 2024, that would be something that could happen, but the trend still goes up. Right, whether that's the that's Bitcoin's price right there, right, in October of 2024. You see how it went down and it created that long kind of deviation. It's still an uptrend though in that deviation. So we would need for this not to go sideways until August, in my opinion, maybe like mid-July, and start to crank up, and then it could still be deviated until like it maybe matches up in. I'm not sure when that would be. It would actually have to be probably like late July. Right. So we could have something in mid-July, starting it maybe the first week. That'd be great. But then like ending it in July pretty bullish, and maybe getting to like that 120 to 130 price point that we talked about. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. So right now we're seeing this, right? So we eventually need to see this come back up. So this direction was negative. This direction is positive. So so it's kind of one of those things where it's like you show me like the chart, I'll tell you the news, right? So to me, there's gonna be some new news event that happens to kind of push this up, right? Something's gonna happen in the next week and a half to kind of push us back up to
Absolutely.
120. So,
Yeah. A
but
lot
then we might
happens in
deviate
a week.
again and kind of see this, right? We might see just the opposite. So let's just say we do touch and then we deviate again and kind of come back down and then maybe a push up after that. I think that
Yeah.
if we get this exact same thing, but just up here, I think that's fine. It's fine
Yeah,
as well.
because even if we like have a good catalyst next week or something, remember a week is a long time here. So if we get a good catalyst next week and we bounce back up to like 109 to 110 and then it deviates a little bit more, then we drop back down to 105, kind of this chop again, and then we push up. We're talking about 117 to 120
Yeah.
by, you know, what is that? Probably the first week of July, maybe, because we got
Yeah.
we got about 11 days left in this month, or 10 days. 10 days. So.
Yeah. But let's jump to Colin's other chart here. So this is it right here. So he's kind of he has another nice chart. It's head and shoulders, right? Shoulder, head, and he's basically saying we're about to erupt. We're getting close to his line here though, right? So I mean we're gonna have to be going up soon. This is another chart though that potentially says we're gonna be popping to 148. And this is exact. I mean this chart lead they're together. Like it's almost like he created this off of this. But I mean they could both seriously happen together. So this also leads to 148 by August.
Yeah, and it looks like it starts to propel upwards. Last week of June is like, or the first week of July. I can't really tell where that is, but it looks like maybe the first week of July. But yeah, I mean, look, when you start talking about August, you start talking about like getting ready for Q4, and
getting ready for Q3, right?
Well,
August.
So it's October, November, December is the last quarter. So it'd be July would be the start of Q3. So you'd be right in the middle.
We're 10 days away from Q3.
Yeah, you'd be right in the middle of Q3, which would be kind of prepping it, in my opinion, to get things a little bit bullish. I would say probably for the Q4. You're not going to get, I still think Q4 is going to be the top of the cycle, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Q2 of I mean the longer this goes, right? I'm feeling like it's gonna be Q2 of next year, but I still don't even think we're gonna get like a drastic bear market either. I think the drop's gonna be I mean we're gonna be in a we might even get like our 2000, let's just say 2022 was the crash, right? The crypto crash basically that kind of led into 01, the same thing, right? 2001 when the stock markets just kind of fell off. Maybe that was that moment, and now we might get like 8 years of bullishness, honestly, but we'll see.
That'd be great.
We will see. All right, let's move into so Federal Reserve chairman. This is kind of what people were saying why the price popped up to 106 today, but it might have been the options, honestly. But Christopher Waller says could cut rates as early as July. So like I said, the rate cut, the next regularly scheduled Federal Open Market Committee meeting is set for Wednesday, July 29th. That's the FOMC. So you won't see Jerome speaking now unless he does like a Jackson Hole thing or whatever. But we won't really see him speaking until July 29th. Waller is one of the 7 members of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. He's a permanent voting member. So he's one of the 7 people that vote. Right. So there's only 7 people that vote. One of them is including Jerome Powell. The committee voted unanimously 12-0 to keep the federal funds rates at 4.25%. The governor Waller cast his vote with a majority to hold rather than cut rates. So he was somebody who did vote to keep rates steady. And now he's kind of saying, hey, we might cut in July. So. But poly markets will tell us the truth, right? So we'll look into that next week. But yeah, how do you feel about Waller coming out and say this? I don't know why he would say this if he wasn't serious.
I don't even know why he would say it at all, because it's gonna get people's hopes up, and then if it doesn't happen, they're just gonna be upset and all that stuff. But look, if he's saying it because he truly feels like that's the direction it's going to go, that'd be great. Two cuts left. You got July, August, September, October, November. We got 6 months with 2 cuts. They got to pick one. soon.
Yeah.
I feel like, right? Unless they're
Well,
going to
there's-
load them up.
There's only 4 meetings. So we have one July 31st, and then we don't have another one until mid-September.
Okay.
And then so that's 2, and then we have another one in November and another one in December.
So almost I feel like July is almost like they kind of have to, because unless they backload them, you know what I mean? Because then if you miss July, then you have 3 meetings left. Then you got 2 cuts.
Yeah.
That could make you feel better, right?
I mean,
thinking
still,
about
though,
the
you know,
think
it's
about the
kinda
math
like-
though. Think about the math though. Right.
Yeah.
So you got to do probably one coming up, and then you skip the next month to see how that has affected it or
Yeah.
whatever they say. Then you skip August or September, whenever the next one is. Then you do one in October. That's the last one in October that leads into like Q4.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's something that gets us back on track to, instead of doing this kind of dance, right? That we're doing side up and down, teasing us, giving us the new all-time high, but it's barely a new all-time high, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, you have to remember the U.S. national debt just hit a record 37 trillion the last 2 days. So it's getting pretty bad. This is the image right here. So
I mean, does it matter anymore?
Well, it does, because in a sense of the Fed, because you have to remember that 4.25%, the Fed has to, we have to pay that, right? So, and right now our interest payments to the bondholders are higher than our military budget, right? I mean, this is a big deal, and cutting it by a point, I mean, we're talking, 4.25% of 37 trillion, right? I mean, that's a lot of money. Right,
Yeah.
it's a few trillion. That is the majority reason why we will never catch the deficit. Right, we'll always be in a deficit because we're paying one at minimum, like $500 billion in interest rates. But it might get to a point where they have to cut just to potentially cut spending. Yeah, save money. So that's a big deal. And then that's one thing people don't understand. Like the U.S. government has to pay that as well. So we're at 4.25. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm just talking about what the statement that you made, though, is that we'll never catch the deficit. So in my mind, I'm just like, but you're right. Talking about it is important for them, at least the people that are going to be making these decisions, because the government's the one that has to pay that interest, and it's just out of control. And they did this. They did this to the country, and now trying to figure out how to get out of it is just. But hey, look,
one way out.
Cut rates, Bitcoin, cut rates, and then that helps out the markets, right? So let's just kind of alleviate some pressure, even if it is minimal to them. But then it also, in my opinion, spur the economy some.
Yeah, 100%. But the only real way out, I don't care what they do, is just to print a shit ton of money and buy Bitcoin with it, right? Because let's just say they buy $1 trillion in Bitcoin. Right, eventually down the line, like over the course of the next couple of years. If they do that, then potentially Bitcoin's going to 100x. It can pay down the national debt, right? Just with its interest. If they can figure out how Sailor's getting his 16% interest, think about that. That's 16% of $1 trillion every year that's getting dumped potentially into paying this debt down.
But how will other countries and nation states and stuff view that, right? It's like, is Bitcoin's value gonna be like not looked at the same way because the United States is just literally printing as much money as they want to buy more? You know what I mean?
And jack the price. I mean, it's a race at that point.
Well, everybody is gonna be like printing as much fiat as you want, and
welcome
then buying
to
it.
Hyper Bitcoin.
I mean, that's I know, but
that's what that is.
But there could be an ideological argument there, right? And then you're talking about like what's backing Bitcoin is all this like fluff fiat, right?
It's not backing it at all. They're selling the fiat to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, who's gonna take your fiat if they're just printing it? Right.
I mean, they're doing the same. They do the same thing with gold too. So it's not like Bitcoin is
oil too. Like
they singled out for this. So because of that, I think it works, right? Because that's just how the world works currently.
When you have a oil reserve, right, like we used to have before Biden decided to sell it all, that's basically the same thing. You're printing money to buy oil to keep it as a reserve, as a just in case, right? So it's the same thing with Bitcoin, right? But at the end of the day, you can get, if Sailor's right, and you can get 16% yield on that Bitcoin. I mean, the government could be taking that yield alone and just paying off debt with it.
Yeah, so very true.
All right, so BTC staking is here, powered by Babylon on Kraken. So this is exactly what they're doing. I looked into it a little bit. So they're just going to allow you to stake your Bitcoin on Kraken. They're going to get the 2%. They're only giving you 1%, and they're paying you in the baby token. But if you do have Bitcoin on Kraken, and you're like, whatever, I'll take whatever I can get. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it is a low AP or percentage yield, right? But the one thing I like is that Kraken is really interested in the Bitcoin ecosystem. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, they're interested in obviously the dog community. They're interested in Babylon for creating the staking mechanism, and how involved are they going to get over here, right? Because Kraken, in my opinion, this is Kraken's cycle to be the centralized exchange that rises above others. I mentioned on last show, or I think it was last show yesterday or the day before, that every cycle has a centralized exchange that kind of does that, right? Now, many have kind of gone down a bad road afterwards. FTX, what's the one? Mount Gox a long time ago. And then, but Kraken is not like some new brand either, though. Most of those, like Mount Gox was early, so it didn't really have a chance to be in the space before that. But FTX was new, it was established, and all this, it was shiny. Kraken's already been around. It's gone through the regulatory battle, so it knows the legalities of everything. And so but I think it has an opportunity to be that shiny new centralized exchange that offers, Bitcoin fungible tokens, that offers Bitcoin staking. No one has really kind of cornered and said, okay, we're going to be the centralized exchange that's known for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And it seems like they're trying to take that spot. And other centralized exchanges are doing different things. Like, for example, Bybit, I think, is going to release their Solana DEX. I think it was Bybit.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do the on-chain and centralized exchange combo with Solana. You got Binance doing it, obviously, with their home chain BNB, having success that way. Coinbase doing it with Base. Kraken doesn't. Well, Kraken's gonna, and that they also have Ink. So they have the opportunity to do that, but also say we're gonna brand ourselves around the Bitcoin ecosystem because no one has done that yet.
Yep, and they could bring Bitcoin ordinals there. They can bring assets there, right? I mean, it's probably something to talk with Jake about, potentially. Adding Ink to the roadmap as well. So it's something we'll talk about him about a half hour. But let's jump into the crypto fear and greed here. So last week we were at a 54. Yesterday we were at 48. The day before we were at a 48. You guess where we are today?
Hold on. 48.
Yeah, 3 days.
They haven't been changed. Yeah, they haven't changed it. Honestly, I don't blame them.
I think they're on vacation. They're just like, just leave it at 48.
Yeah, it's felt that way. It's felt
3 days in a row. I mean, we haven't had that since last summer. Remember last summer?
Oh yeah,
we used to check it every single day, and it was like 4 to 5. It was almost a week straight of like the same number.
Or like barely deviating by like 3 points both ways. And it was crazy how stagnant it was. I don't think we go through a long-term version of that though, or that was a long version of itself, I guess. Dude, I don't think I don't think we replicate that though. I think it's going to be shorter lived, 2 weeks type of situation. But maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm not. But that's just kind of what I feel with. I'm just so bought into that global chart, the M2 chart, and I feel
like it's the only thing we're holding on to. That's
well, because it hasn't given us a full reason to say, I quit you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe it does. I think we'll know very soon if it does, because we've been dancing around that lower 100,000 a couple times in June.
Yeah.
We're back kind of close to that right now. If we break below that, and it's a full force kind of like one of those like crazy red candles, I think that's whenever we make that decision. Well, maybe we kind of deviate ourselves a little bit from it. We'll see.
Yeah, man, 100%. But let's jump into the Bitcoin price action and see exactly where we are. So Bitcoin price action is brought to you guys by Artura. Artura.finance is the website. I want all you guys to go over there and check out their docs and everything, because they're going to be going public, or I'm sorry, they're going to go on mainnet on 2 Bitcoin L2s. They're going to be creating leverage trading platform. Think hyper liquid. That's kind of what I'm seeing from these guys with the possibilities that they're going to bring in the table. But they're choosing Botonics, the spider chain. They're going to be building there first. Botonics is going to be incentivizing the very early days of their launch, and using Artura.finance, you guys can get some of that incentivification on top of getting the ARA token. Definitely want to do that. And then Hemi is backed by Binance. So Binance, usually wants a token. That's kind of what they do. Hemi probably going to get listed on Binance super early as well, because it's kind of like their L2 of choice there. But again, by using Artura, you potentially could get an airdrop of the Hemi token as well as the ARA tokens. I want you guys to definitely do low leverage, low money on Artura, just farm that and kind of get some free money that could start you back in the positive or get positive about Bitcoin L2s. But definitely check them out when you guys get time.
Absolutely excited for that team and what they got coming very soon, guys. But before we jump into the crypto or Bitcoin and crypto price action, I should say, if you could help us out on the YouTube side, smash that like for us, guys. We know that you guys support us and we appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on so you know when we go live. On the X side, let's share the space. Let's get as many people in here as possible. Same thing with the abstract side, guys. If you could share that stream, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Let's jump into some Bitcoin price action here. So something that I learned this morning was, let me remove that and then add that back, was that these Bitcoin options, right? In Bitcoin and Ethereum, actually, right? All the main ones that the options that I'm talking about are like the Deribit options. There's this price level that's called the max pain level, and that's what the platforms would love for the price to kind of be like a magnet to. And Bitcoin's max pain level is 106, because the closer it gets to that, the more profit that these platforms are able to make, right? They have different strategies to kind of mitigate that with hedging and stuff, but that's what they want. And then if you look at this price action here, it kind of makes a lot of sense. If you look at 3 a.m. Central Time, that's when the options expired, and look at the price here. It was at 3 a.m. It was right here about 105,800, right? 105,800. And so it makes a lot of sense, right? It makes a lot of, actually it went higher than that. So it actually did hit the 106,000, right? And then so I was kind of curious, just like Shizzy was yesterday, like what's up with this kind of jump up of it was about 2,500, but still it was pretty aggressive through the night too, heading in. And it looked like once that expired, they said, okay, we're gonna go sideways here and dump it. And that's exactly what happened, right? Right now we're seeing Bitcoin at 104,300 does not look great in terms of the leading indicators. You can see the MACD just really started the sell pressure. It's on the 2nd-hour candle here, and it looks like the sell pressure wants to continue. The Wall Street guys dumped it at that 9:30 Eastern time period. It started off slow, but then it dumped pretty hard here. It went to lunch, and it looks like that's the only reason it rebounded at all. I think that possibly we get tested, to that support level of the 102,000 in the second half of today, but we'll see. One thing for sure is Bitcoin has been strong around these levels. Bitcoin has shown strength around the 103, 104 level. In fact, yesterday and the day before, it's shown pretty good strength around those levels, not dipping down into the 102. But today is a Friday, and typically the Fridays seem to be a little bit less strong. And I feel, but the one thing is, even on the Friday, it does protect the 100, 101, 102 levels, and it hasn't broken down below that for the month of June yet. So we'll see if that continues. But second half of today, I do expect chop with that downtrend. I do think that we get challenged. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. And then the 4-hour chart, man, it was looking pretty darn good here. And this is where that manipulation comes out, right? You start to see all of a sudden, yes, the sell pressure was exhausted here on Thursday at 7 p.m. and we started that buy pressure, but now it makes a lot of sense. Why did that buy pressure just pop up at 7 p.m. Eastern time? Probably because the options expired at 3 a.m. right? So you got that expired and bam, And typically once you do see like a disruption in the buy pressure or sell pressure, you start to see a gradual, either downtrend or uptrend, right? So that's what we saw here. We'll see if that continues for the rest of today. Heading into the weekend, tomorrow is going to be a bit like yesterday, in my opinion. People trying to scalp here and there. It's not going to be too aggressive unless there's a major headline or anything like that. And then Sunday, we'll see if we can get maybe a reset to the week, because I think that would be good in general. Maybe we get some good news on Sunday evening, and then kind of reset the week. But yeah, so the 4 hours really kind of giving confirmation to what I'm seeing here. On the 1 hour, it's showing that the buy pressure broke down here, and the 1 hour is showing that the sell pressure is getting pretty aggressive here. I actually expect the sell down to continue once these guys get back, but maybe sometimes what they'll do after lunch is they'll reverse what they did in the first half, but I don't think that's going to happen on a Friday, but we'll see. All right, the weekly chart. This makes me kind of sad, because this is the one that I was so happy about for so long, and it looks like it's starting to it's kind of looked like this for the majority of the week, but it's starting to break down a little bit here. You can see that buy pressure is getting weak. It's getting exhausted. Again, I do bring back kind of this moment that we had in the fall of, or it was Q4 of 2023 leading into that first quarter of 2024, where there was a break in between these two big multiple weekly candles here. And so maybe we get something like that, which would make a lot of sense in my opinion, especially if we get kind of like this sideways for the next week or two, and then we start our ascent up to the 120 130 mark. It's just barely the difference is, like, you see this local top here was much higher than the previous one. Ours is like not much higher than what we saw here in January. But yeah, we'll see how the rest of the summer plays out. But look, it could be a lot worse. I'll say that, right? At least we entered the green. We got to push up, and we'll see if this continues. Maybe we get some bullish energy back, like I said, after 2 weeks, and this starts to point back up, and we start to build some stronger candles, because this could happen. This is exactly what happened during that example I told you guys in Q4 of 2023, where it exhausted a bit, went sideways, and then popped back up to finish the year. Right. So hoping for a situation like that. All right. The others weekly chart, everything besides Bitcoin in the top 10 and all of crypto here. Yeah. I mean, like at this point, like I feel like we can probably skip this one, because it's like literally a delay of Bitcoin, and I say that every time, but that's what it is. I'm not really freaked out or anything, because it's like Bitcoin's going to lead this until alt season starts, and then that's whenever it'll follow Ethereum. So, guys, it's kind of the same thing with Bitcoin that I said on the weekly chart. We'll see if Bitcoin turns around 2 weeks from now, and this will also kind of have a delayed tail of that. So that's what we're seeing on the weekly for the others. Let's take a look at crypto bubbles. I actually thought this would be a lot worse today. I was thinking that I said that yesterday, but some of these major tokens in the alt market are holding decent. You see Stacks with a good, green day, decent green day for, the market conditions, being up 3.9%. So to your Stacks community out there, this is a decent day. I know you guys have been going through a lot lately, so this is probably a good breath of fresh air. Couldn't say that for you guys there. And then you're seeing some of these meme coins. Sheeb up 0.7%. Pepe down 2.6%. SPX taking a 14% hit. The Solana meme coins are getting like down. Fartcoin down 8%.
It seems like anything that retail kind of has majority of, like meme coins like Fartcoin, SPX, and Dog and stuff like that they're getting wrecked harder than pretty much anything else.
Yeah.
And Sonic's just been down only. I mean, oh my God, dude. Sonic's been down like 50% in the last like 3 weeks. It's wild.
Yeah, man. I bet you the people that like really got into that early, they made money for that that period of time, but you're right, it's been down.
It was just like the AI stuff. So Sonic kind of ran with all that, and then got it's a lot of the AI stuff too. It's been down only.
Yeah, some utility stuff near down 1.9%. HBAR down 6.6%. XDC up 2.9%. Yeah, let's check. Trump is up 1.1%. What? That's weird. All right. looking at some of these others that are in the ranked 100 through 200, you see Peanut up 4.7%. Peanut's been doing decent the past couple of days, surprising there. Kato up 2.8%. Hex up 1%. What? That's weird. Yeah, so this is kind of what we're seeing here, guys. Maple down 1.8%. I always have a hard time finding the dog token here.
It's always so small. It's a far left bottom.
There. Oh, it's at least it's green. 0.5%. It's green, 0.5%. So maybe some of that has to do with the Odin trading. I don't know. They said that it helped some of the other tokens, but I don't know about that. But anyways, all right, guys, that is the Bitcoin and Brado crypto price action and crypto bubbles. Hopefully that helps you guys heading into the weekend.
Yep. Let's jump into the roll call. Let's see who's still here. We're paying attention, guys. We're paying attention to see who's here every single day. But let's jump right into it. So we have Webdro. Congratulations. Well, Webdro is not giving up, bro. He won yesterday. He won today. Everyone else is on vacation, and he's in here just winning. So he has his 25th win of the year. He now is 1 behind Danny and 2 behind Lackey Lukey. Congratulations to you, Webdro. I can actually show the chart here for you guys if you guys are paying attention. But yeah, man, shout out to you, man. Got your 25th win, 24 yesterday, and 23rd on the 9th. So yeah, man, we'll see you win. But guys, this is anyone's race still. We have 100 days left in the year. Definitely want to take advantage. 150, I believe, more than that maybe, left in the year. Anyone can really hop in here. We probably have 100 live streams left. So I mean, this is still anyone's game, but it does seem like Webdro, Lucky Lukey, and Danny Boy are just pretty far ahead, and ASAP Benji's right there with 12. So yeah, but definitely want to make this list. We're gonna do something special for everyone who makes this list. We're not sure what it is yet, but definitely want to get on this list for sure. So but all right, let's keep it moving here. We have Track Tap. Only chance is Track Network and Benny King of Bitcoin. The track guys, man, you gotta admit, man, they're consistent. They're consistent, and they're around. So that video, that's what tutorial I did.
Yeah.
Like it was like 9,000 views, 127 likes. So shout out to the Tap community. Definitely showing up, showing out. And then we have Mats says send it. Mats is here. Danny Boy says nice. How long ago did they post it? That was a late one. They switching it up. Nobody is safe. I think we just got busy yesterday. We had a recording, multiple recordings and stuff. So that's what it's all about. It depends on what we're doing that day. Webdro is here again. Lackey Lukey, shout out to Lackey Lukey. 1+ ad is here. Malam Yuri says, how likely is it for a no-show this year? Could the war completely throw the bull run off until next year?
I think we have a aggressive push up this year at some point. At least one, but that's me.
If US boots are on the ground, I mean, it might be a nice 6-month delay, right?
I don't see us not.
We can't go up with boots on the ground, dude. There's no chance.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't see us not having some sort of push up in Q4 of this year. But I also don't. I mean, it's hard because 2022, as soon as the war was announced between Russia and Ukraine, like the Bitcoin dumped hard. But like once it was
rate cuts as well, right? But I think it was the war part of it was like for that week or 2 weeks, yeah, definitely. But then we went into 7 months of rate hikes, right? So and in February the rate hike was 0.5. Is one of the biggest rate cuts that they've ever done, or rate hikes that they've ever done.
So that's also a different time, right? And so we're not going through rate hikes, but the only thing that's similar is it was announced between Israel and Iran, and Bitcoin didn't react that way, to that news. Yeah. Now, obviously, that's a whole different game. You're right in terms of boots on the ground. I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah,
we'll have to see what kind of effect that has.
Yeah, 100%. Not ruling anything out at this point, though. We just got to get out of these freaking wars, man. Chota is here. Vader time is here. K99 is here. Satoshi Nakamoto, my guy. Spindrift says, yo, guys, what's up, Spindrift? The King. Chips and Dip is here, followed by Abstract. And then my guy, Nighthawk UXL says, GM, fellas, TGIF, have a great weekend. You too, man. Looks like Nighthawk is done for the day. Nocturnal, what's up, buddy? It's been a long time. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, but man. And then Vic is here. Shout out to Vic. He said, "Dog, go to the moon." Yeah, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for being here all week, Vic, man. Absolutely awesome. Really appreciate that. Patty Poo says, "Sup. What's up, Patty Poo, the Bitcoin machine himself?" Max reposted the stream. Shout out to Max. Thank you so much, man. And then we have Choda says, "Hit the likes and share the stream, everyone." Yes, please. That would really help us for sure. Chief Axel is here. Shout out to Chief Axel. Patty Poo says, "What's been keeping you both from virtuals?" I see Mattyverse on the timeline pushing it. I've been yapping Vader for outsized Virgin points. So the problem is, you guys are being pumped and dumped on, right? So it's constant. It's the whales, and I've been paying attention. I just don't want to report. I just don't want to, like, Francis can do what he wants, but it definitely seems like he's in jail a lot, which means that he can't do anything with his Virgin points, which means he's dumped on you guys, right? I love Francis, but he's playing the game. And we don't want to do that to you guys. We don't want to like pump up this coin for 3-4 days and then dump it on you guys and never talk about it again. That's not what we do here. We like to talk about projects that can be here a long time, meme coins that are going to create communities around them. We don't want to be a part of the pump and dumping that virtual is right now. I'm not saying virtuals won't be a good area to invest in long term, but a lot of those projects, especially the recent ones, it's just the whales getting the most points, 300,000 points a day, and then using those points to get in these things, get their 24x, get out, and then you're seeing these tokens drop back down drastically, and then nothing being built from those projects. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to touch that right now.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty. It has a lot of clarity though with it. It's like this is the system, right? This is the system. You have points that you earn. You use those points to get into these other tokens. It's not like there's like this mysterious, we don't know how this system works type of situation. So if people are getting into those tokens, purchasing them or whatever, that's kind of on them, right? Because that's like, you should expect that. You know what I mean? People are gamifying that because you're not in it to like just hold forever, right? You're in it to do well.
I mean,
but
they're not holding for a week.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is that like everybody knows that's an option, and everybody knows that the whales are using that strategy right now. Yeah. So a lot of people are not necessarily buying into those tokens anymore, really. But I agree in terms of it's probably a little bit dangerous right now. And I saw Francis come out and talk about it, but he was giving. I felt like it was good that he did that. He was like, hey, this is how the game works, and this is why people are kind of not happy right now with the system. But I think it's much better than it was before, though. The way that it was before, people were just like, it was basically pump fine, but with AI.
Yeah. It's no difference right now. But this is just geared more to whales. The more points you get, the bigger the.
But you also get like what was it? Consequences for dumping, going in jail and stuff like that. So they're trying to mitigate.
But it's funny though, because they put the launches around out of the jail. Like, so it's like they get into another one, right? So it's like, to me, it's like these teams that are launching these projects, they're just waiting for the whales to get out of their little prisons and then get their points again and then try again. It's just continuously every, like, whatever the jail time is, it seems like there's another project that those guys are getting into. But Mogar is here. It's a super cycle up for years. I'm actually starting to think that way. It's but longer do we stay in the sideways bullshit that we're in. And then Coach Katz with the coffee and the donuts and the dog go to the moon. Shout out to you, my friend. Cash Katz is back. All last summer you were with us, man. So it is cool to have you back around. He said running around like crazy today. Just came to smash low. Thank you so much, bro. Really appreciate that. And thank every single one of you guys who make roll call each and every day. Absolutely amazing, guys. Really appreciate you guys giving us the support and showing up every day. It absolutely is awesome. But that is our segment for that. All right, let's kind of get into Fluid Friday here. So guys, this is some alpha for you guys. So we had a meeting every Friday. We have a meeting with Raul, part of our partnership with them. We kind of just advise them or talk about stuff that they're doing. And the big thing that they're building is on Alkanes, right? They built Aquarium, they built all this other stuff, but they're really going to be pushing Alkanes right now for a lot of different reasons. The main reason is the smart contracts, the WASM smart contracts. And I asked some Shreb this morning. I said, over on Cardano, you guys have Plutus, you guys have Haskell. Haskell was the first programming language on Cardano. Plutus was like a a better version of that. They basically took Haskell and made it better. And I asked him, I said, hey, what's it like building for, WASM smart contracts for Alkanes? And he said, it's so much easier. He said that, he loves it. Actually, he actually likes it better because it's so simple, right? You're kind of just building on top of your last command. Think of it as assembly line, right? It's web assembly. You make the first code and then the second code and the third and the fourth and the fifth, and it kind of just goes one into the other. They're building, obviously, they built lending and borrowing on Cardano. They built some for runes and ordinals, and potentially they're going to be looking into doing that as well. On top of that, they're going to be doing a what's the other thing they're doing? They're building the staking. They have a bunch of projects reaching out to them. Alkane staking. Potentially, you might see the top three, right? Diesel, Mist, and Methane. This is really, really awesome because you'll be able to stake your tokens and potentially earn. So potentially, you're going to see maybe the oil team, who has a big portion of the diesel, actually give it to stakers. That'd be really cool if they utilize Fluid for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I know they posted something about that as well, if you want to bring that up. But they've successfully tested staking on Alkane, so that's pretty much done. And the next step is to get it live, right? So they're coordinating with these teams to make it happen, right? So it's interesting because we've known Fluid for a long time. Obviously, we partnered with them for a long time, but we've known them. They used to come in our builder spaces on the weekends that we used to host in 2023, I think, or early 2024. And ever since they came in, they've been just all about like innovating and trying to build more infrastructure and tooling and stuff like that. And so I wasn't shocked at all when Alkanes came out, and then we saw Halfbanger and Bunsey be really excited because those are experienced developers as well. And then I knew Raul was going to like jump in and say, okay, what can we build here? And now we got this, right? So I do think there's a lot of teams that are probably working really hard on trying to create a product to where runes and Alkanes can coexist and work together. We'll see if that's possible. Some people are saying it is. Some people say that there has to be some changes made to runes, but we're going to see. And this is a team that will probably try to do that, experiment with that because this is what they do. So,
and we do have, we know of a different team out there. They're trying to build a bridge from runes to Alkanes, right? So that'll be pretty massive if something like that happens. And then you're able to take, let's just say, there's a community like, I don't know, based in Internet Panda, and they're like, we want to move this over to Alkanes. It's gonna be, that type of stuff's gonna be possible, right? I'm not gonna be seeing stuff like Dog or anything probably get bridged over there unless you want to make an LP pool, because that's a problem, right? You bring it over to Alkanes, you might not be able to bring it back, or you might be able to sell it over there if the number goes up and stuff like that. So that's very cautious when that, but it does seem like Fluid is building some really cool stuff. They have a transaction here 2 hours ago. This is the first Alkanes staking transaction executed on Bitcoin. Alkanes are locked in a time-locked script on Bitcoin, and only the user has the ability to unlock them. Rewards are distributed by the project after staking is verified on chain. Users can unstake their full Alkanes balance once the lock period ends. Are you ready? So I'm actually excited for that. That is actually going to blow up, in my opinion, the Alkanes ecosystem, because now you might see a lot of different projects want to reach out to them and do that type of stuff. They put here, they say Alkanes are the best way to onboard new devs and users to Bitcoin right now. So yes, you have to remember there's a lot of people building for Cardano who now have, an easier way of building on Bitcoin using smart contracts, and then WASM WebAssembly is something, and Raul says it's easier. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. It is huge. But I'm curious on your thought process here with Alkanes being this meta protocol that you can do logic on, right? This is the difference between them and past meta protocols like BRC20 or Atomicals, and now with Alkanes, they have the smart contract capability with an off-chain indexer that does computation, but it gives you the results on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they're building up a lot of energy with the Chinese community, a little bit of the West as well. But Runes is still kind of taking a lot of the spotlight with all this Kraken news and stuff like that. So, what do you think happens? Is this, first of all, good for the space? Number one, and number two, do you think there's a collision that's basically going to happen here in the near future?
Yeah. So, Alkanes is interesting for a lot of different reasons. The main reasons is the oil team behind it. They do have funding behind them, right? And Arthur Hayes, they have that whole thing. So that's one big thing. A lot of runes builders, if they don't raise money, they struggle. But it does seem like you might be able to get funding from the oil team to kind of build this stuff. I don't think Raul and Fluid are getting anything like that, but that's definitely something that they probably have it in their bag to kind of push eventually, right? To see who the community members, and then remember they do have Diesel, which is their token, which they could be doing airdrops and stuff like that for in the future as well. That's kind of what the oil points are for. If you have an oil wallet and you're holding Diesel and stuff, you're getting all these kind of like points and stuff like that. But to answer your question, I think, if Cardano builders now want to build on Bitcoin, they have a really easy way. They might have been before, like, you can't really do much on runes. There's not a lot of, I can't just take my project that I've been building Cardano the last 6 months and just easily bring it to Bitcoin. Well, now possibly you can. You might have to rewrite it into WASM smart contract language, but the possibilities are endless now on the sense of what you can build on Bitcoin. And Alkynes kind of brings that to the table. Well, runes win. I mean, the only big token in runes is dog. Right. I mean, you can cash tag dog and get, a couple 100 likes on your posts easily. But if you cash tag without dog, whether that's $1 Billion Cat or Gizmo, you're barely getting 30. Right. So the engagement is really only for dog at this point. Well, if dog explodes, the other ones will as well. So I don't know. I mean, we could see runes kind of being this year's, BRC 20s, and then Alkanes kind of being next year's version of that, right? The next explosion. So I don't know. It's hard to say. It's easier to sit back and watch and see what happens. But I'm okay with there being 15 different meta protocols on Bitcoin, as long as, because what that's going to do, that's going to create in the back end, bridges and all types of stuff, to where when I'm trading my dog for methane, a bunch of stuff's happening in the back end that I don't need to know about. All I know is my dog is now methane, right? Like it's the same amount of money. So
yeah. If they're obviously, if they figure out how to do something like cross like that, I mean, dot swap is one that I think could do that, because they've been doing stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. But you mentioned something about funding. Runes has a lot of funding that's not based on the founder or the protocol itself. It's based on other than like interest, right? You have a lot of infrastructure like the Arch network and a lot of DPI and them investing in Arch. I know Arch itself is focused on runes, supporting runes, but it's not only runes, but still it's a big part of the infrastructure that they've talked about with Saturn and stuff, right? Then you have other like Sats Terminal, right? That's gotten a lot of investment, or has gotten investment interest, right? And they're pretty much like the aggregator that supports runes. So I think that runes is getting investment through like other platforms that are trying to build infrastructure that has nothing to do with Casey and stuff like that. So in my opinion, that's more impressive than an entity of like Alkanes, just kind of, we created Alkanes and we'll give you guys money to build here.
Well, that's the difference, right? So, like guys like Sat Terminal, they had to build their project first, right? All these builders, they have to build first. And over on Alkanes, potentially they can bring builders over with money. Say, hey guys, we're going to give you a grant to build here. That's what my point was. My point was, you can go to builders on Cardano, go to builders on UTXO chains like Litecoin and stuff like that, and say, hey, why don't you guys come over here and build what you're building? It's incentivizing the build process instead of incentivizing, hey, this is a project, this is cool, and you got to pitch to investors. That's the difference in thing. And you got to remember, Sats Terminal, they're focused on Alkanes, right? They're as well, right? Like that's one of their biggest pushes right now. So, and a lot of the runes builders, a lot of them are. I mean, Fluid as well. Fluid was building for runes and stuff. Their tokens of rune. Now they're building for Alkanes. You're seeing a lot of people who were previously building for runes now kind of building for Alkanes.
Yeah, building for them, but like, there's no way that like Alkanes is going to be more of a focus for Sats Terminal than Runes at the moment. Like that's still their bread and butter in terms of volume and the Magic Eden integration support and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
who knows what happens in the future, right? With Alkanes.
No, 100%. The Magic thing was huge, right? But like at the end of the day, once some dexes, because we're going to see a bunch of dexes, we actually, Raul said it himself. I asked him straight up. I said, "You guys building dex?" And he said, "There's already like 3 or 4 teams already building dexes." So once there's 4 dexes for Alkanes and it's working great, decentralized with using the off-chain indexer, potentially, that might be one of the biggest things for Sats Terminal, in the future.
Yeah.
So,
We'll
they're an aggregator. They're just going to get you the best price. So
yeah, I mean, and that's what their number one focus is to
Yeah.
serve the community, right? Whatever you guys
100%.
want is what they're going to give you guys. So
But Fluid Tokens isn't just pushing, Alkanes and building for them. They're also doing a dog season 3. So this is going to be pretty big. Really looking forward to locking my dog up again. I mean, last time I did it, it was great. I locked it up with like $100 million market cap, $150 million market cap, and then took it out at $300 million market cap. So I wasn't able to sell it, which was awesome. And then on top of that, it Shizzy proofed it. And on top of that, I earned a significant amount of dog on top of that. So really awesome. But guys, check out fluidtokens.com. We're going to be putting out a video about their aquarium. If you are a Cardano guy, you might want to definitely tune into that one. We really covered what the Babel fees and all that stuff, but definitely check out fluidtokens.com.
Yep.
All right. Our good friend Jake from Emblem Vault is joining us right now. So Emblem Vault, they're building something pretty cool. They're building a way
Multiple things.
they're building multiple things that are awesome, but they're building their jumping feature. You'll be able to take your ordinals, bulk mint them. We just put out a video about how to bulk mint some rare Pepes and take them over to Ethereum, but you can use that same logic of that video and you can use it for Taproot Wizards. You can now take your Taproot Wizard over to Ethereum and go to Gandhi and actually take a loan out on it if you're interested. Gandhi is one of the biggest loan platforms out there. Not only are they building that, though, like you mentioned, they also are building Agent Hustle. Agent Hustle is these guys. You guys got to be paying attention to Agent Hustle right now. He's being looked at by a lot of different places about how can we use Agent Hustle? How can we potentially help our community by giving them access to this eventually down the line, using maybe like a headless hustle and stuff like that. So this is definitely something to be paying attention to. Really, really bullish on what Emblem Vault is building. So without further ado, let's bring up Jake. Jake, welcome back to OnChain Revolution. Thanks so much for being here, sir.
Happy Friday, gentlemen.
What's up, bud?
Happy Friday.
Yeah, how's the news for today?
Tough.
There's nothing, bro.
Yeah, it's a ghost town, dude. It's a ghost town. It's just InfoFi flop, honestly, for the majority of the timeline, and Bitcoin Meta Protocol wars. We covered that on our show yesterday. Seems to be the most interesting thing as more, I guess, development activity and interest is coming to the ecosystem. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think it might have been like late spring or middle of the spring. You had a pretty solid forecast for the remainder of the year, and you said you expect kind of like a sideways with some uptrend, and we saw that. Now it seems like we're kind of back to sideways. So I'm curious if your thesis has changed for the rest of the year, or like do you still think we chop until maybe Q4? Or what's your idea of it?
I think Q3 is going to be pretty big, probably the second half of Q3. It's funny, there's actually a guy who is using Agent Hustle and combining it with astrology to do Bitcoin predictions. And it's been right so far, to be honest. And so the AI astrology with Agent Hustle says that the bottom of Bitcoin is going to be around 100K, I think, in the next week or two. And then it's up from there. I mean, you have the stablecoin Genius Act that's about to pass once Trump signs it. There's multiple variations of the market structure bill that's coming through, right? Bitcoin's still at an all-time high. You have all of these fucking off-chain shitcoins as crypto treasury companies that are being created, which is probably creating the next bubble. So I think we have a long way to go. And you see a lot of development activity. Like, development activity generally leads speculation. It seems like with the Bitcoin ecosystem, specifically Alkanes is kind of leading that speculation as kind of the new and hot ecosystem. And you just saw an upgrade with Magic Eden and their swap tool, and there's a bunch of other swaps that are coming through. And it's actually kind of interesting. Like a lot of people say that runes are dead, but if you look in aggregate across, if you use dog as kind of barometer for runes health, yesterday there was like $600,000 or $700,000 in dog volume between Odin Fun, Magic Eden, and Dot Swap. So a lot of people are not counting that in aggregate, which Odin Fun did more volume yesterday for dog than Magic Eden did, and Dot Swap is still there as well. So I think a lot of people need to kind of look at across all of these different dexes to aggregate the volume, and it is significantly higher than it was a few months ago.
Yeah. There should be a website. I feel like someone should build a website, a data website for total volume across all Bitcoin dexes for runes. But yeah, you're right. And that's obviously not including the centralized exchanges that have dog on there, because if you look at that volume, it's much higher than 600,000. You're talking about multiple millions. But yeah, a lot of people, they look towards the DeFi volume just to kind of get that core volume. And I think that's a place that like the Bitcoin fungibles just have to do better in. I mean, when you're comparing that, like, I'm not saying that, runes volume is horrible, but I'm talking about the overall, like, even on a good runes volume day, you can't really compare that to something like Solana or even Ethereum or Base, their top meme tokens. But I think that there's going to be some trigger that changes that as we continually evolve.
Yeah, I think it's just more speculation that's being introduced to the market is what's going to change. Right. Usually I guess usually like the motto is sell in May and go away. It seems like it was actually sell in June and go away. And I think we're kind of at the bottom of the altcoin of this altcoin dip. I mean, I'm using the AI market as kind of the barometer, again, to use that term. AI coins seem to front run all the whole altcoin market nuke, which actually happened last time when all of the AI coins from the beginning of January to the end of January went down 90% or so. Tensorium going down 96%. This time it took a little bit longer. It took about 3 weeks. So the beginning of June, since today's the 20th, Tensorium went from 4.5 mil down to 1 mil. So it's about an 80% drop. So to me, it seems like if they're the leading indicator of risk, completely risk on assets, like that seems to be near the bottom. And then Hype obviously had a big sell off. And since it's the largest altcoin in terms of recent speculation and recent liquidity, right, that's going to be the latter mover. Just as like Bitcoin in a completely crypto wide market sell off, Bitcoin is always the one to fall later. And it usually falls the least. So if you just replace Hype as kind of the Bitcoin of altcoins, and currently right now, not in total, it seems like the bottom is pretty near for altcoin market.
That's good to hear.
I hope so, man. I mean, you're seeing a lot of tokens like Sonic, for instance, right? Which had all this hype just like 4 months ago, is now at bear market lows when it was Phantom. Right. So it's like a lot of these tokens, especially the ones from last cycle that people have been accumulating for this bull run, are back at bear market lows. It's kind of scary in the sense, obviously, we're going to see a lot of tokens probably die off, right? A lot of projects, but a place like Sonic, for instance, like they've been building in the background for a long time, and that's dropping. I mean, Avalanche is dropping. You're seeing Polygon Matic is at bear market lows again. It's getting really, really bad for some of these altcoins.
The markets have just changed. It's not an easy pick any coin and it goes up, 5x. You actually have to time, and the rotations are much faster now.
Yeah.
And it seems like the dips on altcoins are much lower, but it's still very similar. So I mean, like the largest sell off was at the beginning of the year, right? Most things went down 90+%. Now things are down about 80% or 70%. So that means that, that padding of 10 to 20% gain for these coins are all of the new buyers that stuck into it. So for example, with Tensorium for Agent Hustle's coin, the low was 600,000. Now the low is 1 million, right? So you basically got about a 40% padding in new users. So that's kind of what I would look at in terms of like the health of an altcoin, is to see kind of how far it is from that recent January, February low. And to me, it just seems like things will come back. the Bitcoin. I'm most interested still in the Bitcoin ecosystem and AI agent barbell. I think that is the most attractive moving forward, as the intelligence cycle will be, the dominant player in the next 6 to 18 months or so. Like it'll be like as apparent as kind of the attention cycle was. And then obviously as Bitcoin continues to grow, the ecosystem will continue to grow, and a small percentage of those new buyers will eventually, look to what else is on Bitcoin, and some of them become builders, and some of them just become more speculators within the ecosystem. But it is slower, and the sentiment though is probably near an all-time low. It's not nearly as bad as it was at the beginning of the year, but it's still right now seems to be pretty low. Engagement's down pretty hard. Telegrams are empty. Discords are empty. And, when I go to bed, I live in Vegas. I'm on West Coast time. When I go to bed, there's like one space on or two in my feed.
Wow.
And like that's it. There was at one point there was no spaces when I went to bed the other day. So it just kind of shows that a lot of the builders have left. Like, so, and it's, you just got to survive this one last kind of dull period. And then I think, especially once that market structure bill comes in, which is supposed to be around Q3, Q4, like at that point, the floodgates have opened permanently.
Yeah. I've been saying on the show, like it feels like we've been in a bear market since last April, right? I mean, maybe that's coming from the Bitcoin side, but not like, so we're like, to me, it's been, besides the Trump pump, which was in November, a little bit in December, I feel like we've been just in a bear market, like continuously, like almost like the cycle hasn't even started yet. Besides Bitcoin, of course. Yeah,
I would say right now it's getting more competitive, and from a builder, you need to have more grit and you need to fight off more things. Like yesterday, I saw a post about an AI company closing down because they launched on Pump Fund, which is a very similar situation to us as well as many other builders, right? Because you don't have a lack of treasury, all the coins are distributed, and you have no access to the rewards and LP. So it means you have to get created and you have to kind of fight it out. And there's going to be other companies and teams that are going to shut down during this time. There's going to be consolidation of like M&A, which we've seen the largest M&A this year in crypto in history, and we're not even halfway through the year yet. So that'll only continue. The institutions, quote unquote, are literally buying up as much kind of entry point infrastructure, right? Stablecoin infrastructure, wallet infrastructure, options, perps infrastructure. That's kind of like entry level stuff. But, give it a year or two from now, they're going to be buying NFT marketplaces, are going to be buying DeFi front ends, right? They're going to be coming down kind of the pipeline and getting deeper and deeper entrenched into the industry. And it's literally all there. You just really got to kind of survive this and continue to move forward, whether the sentiment's low, sentiment's high, price is high, or price is low.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we noticed, because obviously we do our show Monday through Friday. We have, great relationships with so many builders, including you guys. And so we get to see the insides of like the teams that have that grit or have this philosophy that my mom told me when I was younger. I bring it up multiple times because it made her successful. And it was control what you can control. Don't worry about what you can't control. Right. So if a season is not busy, then focus on the things to make your brand or your product better. And it seems like a lot of the projects in the Bitcoin ecosystem that are still here from 2023 or 20, they've been able to do that. Right. So, the ones that fall off, it's more of they didn't manage, their burn rate correctly, or they weren't able to continue on. I get a little worried though because of the Bitcoin ecosystem, and you've seen the past counterparty stuff like that. But I keep hearing that we're in this phase of the Delta exchange on Ethereum, and you went through that phase of when DeFi built up. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like we're still there? Because you said we were there in 2023 when we first interviewed you.
Ether Delta. I mean, when Ether Delta was trading, that was literally like the only thing, and it was like more of like a swap kind of module, and it was like very manual, and the orders didn't fill immediately, and it was kind of like this order book style swap. It was not a great experience. The Bitcoin ecosystem is much farther than that. Way further. It feels clunky. The development on Bitcoin takes longer. I think that's just a feature of the chain itself. I like to measure development activity based on the block speeds. So with Bitcoin, it has 10-minute block time. So the ecosystem tends to move a little bit slower. Whereas things like Solana has, 1 second or 2 second block speeds. And then you go down the pipeline to things like Mega ETH that's doing 1 million TPS claimed or whatever. And their whole thing's focused on like SocialFi and like much faster transactions. So the speed of that ecosystem moves at a much faster rate. But the development of Bitcoin is right in line. I mean, it's been around for now. The Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem, I mean, it's been around since Mastercoin back in the day. But if you say really kind of starts with stacks, I suppose. So maybe 3-4 years into this already. I would say it's definitely past its DeFi summer phase. Like that is definitely something that's happened. Obviously, the market's more mature. So there's a lot more things that exist. But the meta protocol, I guess you could say situation, to me, I would say is in a very similar situation to the Ethereum L2 situation. So maybe it's only like 2 years behind. Like the meta protocol, I see the main issue with meta protocols is that users are saying that it fractured liquidity. That's an issue that people were complaining about ETH L2's last cycle in 2021 and 2022. And yes, that's an issue, but it does leave probably a multi-million-dollar opportunity for somebody to figure out how to aggregate all of that and kind of put it together. Obviously, Emblem is one of those teams or one of those products that we believe can create a frictionless environment. Obviously, though, it's going to take a while for that to actually play out. And the different meta protocols have different, specifications and different specializations. I put this theory out literally almost 2 years ago to this point. That was called the village theory, which is just this idea that Bitcoin has such a large market cap of $2 trillion that whenever that money does enter the market, like there's going to be multiple meta protocols that exist for specific type of uses. And since Bitcoin lacks standardization because none of these are built into the protocol itself, there's going to be different communities from across the world or from on-chain who need things for different reasons. So I think that like Runes, I put this out the other day, but I don't think Alkanes is a competitor to Runes. I would say Alkanes is more of a competitor to BRC 2.0 because they're both trying to do smart contracts and Bitcoin applications, where Runes is just an asset issuance protocol. And that's people just want to use that as an asset. And Runes, for Emblem situation, I would say Runes is more attractive than Alkanes because we already have smart contract like functionality within our protocol. So we don't need to add more smart contract functionality. We just need an asset that's issued and very simple to interact with our product line, right? So, and from that perspective, Runes has much more social capital and has much more social capital than Alkanes does and a lot more infrastructure. So for Emblem situation, Runes is much more attractive to use because not everybody needs all of this complexity. Sometimes you want the most simple thing because it depends on what you're building.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you too, because like you gotta remember too, when BRC 22.0 comes online, it's the same community. The Alkanes community, the BRC 20 community, it's the same people, right? I don't see no difference in the people that are playing on Alkanes at the same people that are playing on BRC 20s, and it does seem very, very east based, right? And BRC 20s were the same thing, very east based. You're not seeing a lot of like the Western community, and besides like Hath and Bunzi and Block, like the normal people, but it's not like a lot of them that are actually going to be. I mean, it's going to split the community basically when BRC 22.0 come up, while Runes is going to stay solid because I don't see a lot of people in the Runes community that are actually participating in Alkanes.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely people experimenting. The developer activity for Alkanes is quite high. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that BRC 2.0 announced that there was like 10 different applications that are already building with the protocol itself that they put out in that Bessensaw put out in that post, which I think is very smart because it gives people something to do. The worst thing you could do is launch an upgrade to a protocol and then users have nothing to speculate on or nothing to do after they've been waiting 18 months. But there are more developers moving over and experimenting with Alkanes. So I think those two are really more competitive. But overall, I think it's just about growing the ecosystem and getting more users in. And as I kind of spoke before, the dog volume was $600,000 yesterday across all of these different marketplaces. And so I'm just looking at kind of on-chain volume, and that just means that, DotSwap has their own type of users, ICP has their own users, right? And then Magic Eden has their users, and they're all different types using different things. And I think that's just very bullish for the ecosystem that people don't like to dismiss because they get too caught up in these, tribalistic wars of which protocol is better, when you should just be looking at the total aggregate. It's literally the same exact situation as the ETH2 situation that happened last cycle.
But I wonder why the Meta protocol trend never took off before. And I know that like you had like Mastercoin was a Meta protocol, right?
Mastercoin was the first one. That was actually what Shannon, our founder, worked at in 2012. Vitalik worked there as well as a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And Counterparty came like a year after.
Yeah, and so like you had these meta protocols that came, and you had the Omni layer and all these things, but it never built up enough momentum from social credit. I feel like that's the difference, and that's why I feel like Doggo to the Moon has such. Like I said this yesterday in the show, we had Vincent on Cryptolution, and there was a big dog community listening in, and I said I feel like Dog almost kind of has like all the past protocols that didn't make it or didn't push forward meta protocols on its back to say, okay, Bitcoin DeFi is here to stay, and it can like kind of make all that work previously worth it. Is that a weird way to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why they didn't take off is there just wasn't that many people on chain. For people to participate in Bitcoin DeFi, people need to be on chain, and the infrastructure wasn't there, right? Like, I mean, Counterparty just got its first web extension wallet literally earlier this year. So people had to use the desktop wallet, which is obviously not a great experience, and you have to be more technically savvy. But now, but now users are not technically savvy. Users come in with basically no understanding of how the crypto industry works. So that type of stuff does not work. So when ordinals popped off, all this infrastructure was built around it to allow people from other chains who maybe are not as technically savvy about Bitcoin come in and participate with a similar experience. But now it just has to level up to attract people who are outside of crypto in general. I mean, right now, Bitcoin ecosystem is not for normies. I don't think it will be for normies in a while. So the target market is on-chain users from other chains who maybe are less experienced with how Bitcoin works. That should be what people are targeting. I think that's what Bob is trying to do with Odin Fund and ICP. I think this is what a handful of other people are trying to do. This is something we're trying to do with Emblem as well. It's very difficult, but whoever wins, it's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, and there are going to be many because Bitcoin's application is, or the Bitcoin's, I guess you'd say, market cap is so big that people will come from kind of all over the world to participate. Just one kind of final note as well is I kind of look at crypto now as pre-AI and post-AI, and literally anybody new to the market coming from today on forward is going to be much more familiar with AI. AI has over 1 billion subscriptions across the world, across all of the different companies, whereas crypto has 20 to 30 million active users, probably most of those being exchange users, right? So you have maybe a few million on-chain users per month. So you're building for literally normies now. And you can't have these desktop wallets. You can't have downloadable apps. You need things that are, AI kind of focused or I guess you say English or human readable context that they could put into it. Browser extensions and things like that can do over. But those type of people coming in who are not familiar with crypto, they don't know anything about the technical mumbo jumbo. You should definitely refrain from saying that at all. Like I've completely wiped away any technical kind of limitations and even just defaulted to kind of more simple kind of framing. And in an AI, a post-AI world, I think the majority of people should start targeting those type of people and building apps not only abstracting away the technicals from a clicks, but also from your messaging and marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you there, and it kind of jumps right into what you guys are building with Agent Hustle, right? Because you guys are building something that could really help a lot of normal people. Because I mean, most people that I talk to, they're at least experimenting with AI, whether that's ChatGPT or using Google now, right? Kind of someone who is against AI, but he uses Google. I'm like, dude, is AI still in there? Right? It's just, you're using AI, you just don't know it. But let's, for anyone who doesn't know, anyone new listening and stuff, could you kind of get into Agent Hustle and then maybe get into any updates that we're really looking forward to, especially the one. So
Yeah, I think so. With Agent Hustle specifically, I think July is probably going to be its biggest month. Yeah, we just had a pretty long week in terms of strategizing the future of Agent Hustle, and I'm pretty excited. I think starting next week, early next week, you'll probably see a very major announcement that should probably kick things off, as well as a lot of, which then that should snowball into a large momentum buildup from other products that we are going to release. That includes the conditional trading system, which is in current testing, gone through 4 or 5 now, different waves of updates for this. So currently with the conditional system, you can trade through price. So you could say things like, buy dog on Solana, sell when it reaches a penny, put a stop loss when it reaches a tenth of a penny. That's just an example. You could do things like percentage bases where it's, hey, buy dog with 1 SOL, sell it when the market cap increases by 50%, sell the position if it decreases by 10%. And then you can also do it by market cap. These will be the 3 different types. So then I'm just using dog as an example to make it simple. You could do things like buy dog with 1 SOL and then sell it when it hits a $2 billion market cap, sell the entire position when it's a $2 billion market cap, or sell the position when it falls to under $300 million market cap. And you can do a different variety of things with these, right? You could sell portions of the position. You could do different like longer DCAs, which are similar to TWAPs, limit orders, and etc. That'll eventually evolve into a conditional engine, which becomes more akin to news-based triggers and time-based triggers and social triggers. So there's 3 different types of triggers are things like, buy dog with 1 SOL and then sell it when Leonidas posts 50 times in a day, right? So like you're measuring the top of the social signal. You could do things like time-based triggers. This is, again, in the next upgrade. I would call it like conditional stage 2. You could do things time-based where it's like, hey, buy dog and sell it in an hour from now. And then the next one, and then the news-based stuff, I think, is the most interesting. And you can make it really kind of random where you could say buy dog with 1 SOL and then sell when Trump has his first press conference of the day, as an example, right? Or you could say buy dog and sell when a team wins the Super Bowl, something like that, right? So you can get really kind of creative with it. And that's what's really exciting. And then after that, we have our subscriptions are going to come live. And having the subscriptions allows us to continue to generate revenue from the platform. It allows us to have a better relationship with our power users, and it allows us to then add tokenization to the platform, right? Because this is how a lot of things work, where if there's some sort of paywall or some sort of gate, right, you can offer things where people pay for it directly. Maybe people stake something, to get free access. Maybe there's some sort of buyback or some sort of burning. So you can actually have a lot of direct understanding. This also allows you to do referrals, which referrals are a big kind of system. And so we are exploring all of these options. We actually have a pretty solid plan over the next 60 days for everything that's going to happen there. And I'm really excited. We're really going to put a lot of our focus here into Agent Hustle from the Emblem team for the next month or 2 until the Keys TG happens in September. And the reason why is that to get into the top 10 for DeFi AI projects by market cap is only $8 million. So it's like a very early kind of experience. It's very early where we're at. We think we have the tools and capabilities to get there. So we'll be making a lot of updates in terms of the UX will improve, the mobile experience will improve. That's why I keep looking over is the devs are talking about how to improve the mobile experience. And then the B2B side of things, where we have a bunch of users who are using the Hustle MCP to build things like flipping real estate, to investment DAOs using Agent Hustle as the token caller, to dog yield optimization strategies on Solana. That's the Leonidas Rune project. And there's a lot of other interest of different businesses that want to integrate Hustle into their backend. We just have to get over a few different hurdles from an infrastructure and token standpoint to get there to then bring on the masses. So I'm really excited. Hustle is still to this day one of the most capable AI agents in the space. And so we're going to put our full effort there to ensure that not only is it capable, it's fun, and that there's things to do for all types of users, whether you're a power user, whether you're a trader, whether you're an analyst, or you're some sort of token farmer or speculator. The goal would be to have something for everybody.
Yeah, my biggest sleeper is Hustle because of the market cap and stuff like that. And then you look at the capabilities, it far exceeds anything that's close to that market cap, right? In terms of what Hustle can do. I can't wait till the conditionals live because I've been waiting for that forever, and I'm going to utilize that for sure. But you talked a bit about onboarding. Do you see Hustle being an onboarding tool for someone that just got on chain and like basically going to the Hustle and saying, Hustle's like, what do you want to do with crypto today? Could that be something for that level of user?
Yeah, that's our target audience. That's why when we built it, we built the mini app. So you can have this kind of traditional crypto UX, and then you have the prompting, which is the future crypto UX. But then about a month ago, we added social logins. So you can log in with Google right now, and then you'll be able to log in with X and Apple. So for a user, you can actually log in with Google, and you can be talking to Hustle within 10 seconds. It's really a very simple process. You don't have to deposit anything, and that's where we want to be. And so then you can actually sit and talk with them, and it can teach you about crypto. It's what a lot of people use them for, to learn about crypto, to get news and information. And we're going to be adding more data sources here once we get our subscriptions live, so that he can cover all types of information, not just alpha, not just on-chain metrics, but research reports, different types of on-chain DeFi analytics, cross-chain into Bitcoin. We have 29 Bitcoin ecosystem tools ready to integrate. We just haven't done it yet. So to be sure, you can literally just come into Hustle. If you're not a Solana trader, you can still get access to all these information to all these different ecosystems, and then also kind of partner with other Bitcoin companies. But the goal is for him to be dead simple, for grandma, for grandpa, for your kids to come in and learn about crypto.
I love that, and I think that seems to be the future. An easy one-stop kind of place to go to get started, right? Okay, so for the majority of the people that are listening in, that might be familiar with the Bitcoin ecosystem, because we cover that a lot. How would Hustle look like utilizing him for the Bitcoin ecosystem? What would they do?
Yeah, so I had a few different Bitcoin ecosystem people reach out to me. I did go on the Ordinal show the other day. Leo called me up on stage to give kind of an explanation of how Hustle works. Right now, right, he just trades on Solana, but it'll be a very similar experience to trading on Bitcoin. So the user doesn't have to worry about UTXOs. Obviously, mempool sniping will still probably be something that's prevalent, because that's on a protocol level, but it'll all run through our conditional engine. So to the user, you could say, buy Magic Internet Money now at the current market price for these amount of this allotment. I guess depending on who we integrate, whether it's like .swap or Magic Eden or such, like there will be a buffer on what the amount is. And you could just say sell it, and when the market cap increases by 20%, or sell it when the market cap decreases by 20%. So you'll actually have limit orders. You'll be able to DCA. So you can say, take my I guess it's 10 million sats and acquire pups under $10 million, you know, in batches of 10,000 sats or something like that, right? So it's all you're just talking to Hustle and asking him what you want through the conditional engine, and he does everything else on the back end. For the user, it doesn't matter how it works, but the short news is we have different types of triggers, and it's this combination of like inference that's being used as well as APIs and on-chain execution. So it's going to be dead simple, just like talking to ChatGPT.
Yeah, I have a question. So let's just say I'm on Bitcoin, I'm holding dog, and I'm like, you know what, I want to get some mist right over on Alkanes. Could I actually have Hustle like tell it like, hey, sell my dog for Bitcoin and then use that Bitcoin to buy mist?
In theory, yes. So we have to integrate per protocol. So we have, right, because we're using Emblem under the hood, we have Bitcoin legacy wallets, we have Taproot wallets. So I guess it's up to the devs to figure out, you know, does this one Taproot wallet can this one Taproot wallet support multiple protocols, or do we have to create multiple Taproot wallets for each of the protocols? That's a question for the devs that we haven't really explored yet. So it'll be one of those options, but in theory, yes, it should be pretty simple to do. We have had a handful of protocols come out to us. So I guess like the targets is the first two is runes and ordinals, and then I guess alkanes and BRC20 would be the next two that we want after that. And then also counterparty, obviously, because we do want to integrate Emblem into the platform as well as integrate Hustle into Emblem. So we'd like that kind of two-way AI street to happen. But yeah, it'll all run through the conditional engine, should be able to swap it back and forth. You still have to abide by, you know, the block times and the PSBTs in nature. So the first two are going to be runes and ordinals, and then we'll get into kind of the other system, as well as like figuring out which decks we want to integrate as well, right? So right now, I would say the leader is probably DotSwap, since DotSwap seems to be the essentially becoming the Uniswap, right? Because they're the LP providers, right? Magic Eden is aggregating LP from DotSwap, which is being routed through Sats terminal. So it seems like DotSwap is kind of winning that battle. So you'd want to go kind of directly to the source, since we'd be kind of the equivalent of what Magic Eden's doing, where they're just being the front end and DotSwap being the back end. Agent Hustle would just be the front end, and DotSwap would be the back end.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, because that way you're gonna if DotSwap has the most liquidity, you want to go there. But unless some other dex pops up, right, and then you're sitting there like, oh well, they have pops over here, but they have more Gizmo over here, you know,
right? Like Arch, we're looking at Arch
exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
ICP, I mean, with Odin Fund as well. I talked with Bob in Vegas. It didn't sound like they had third-party tooling available, although I did see a Pups Telegram trading app pop up for Odin Fund. So there's obviously some sort of APIs there. It's just not publicly viewing. So it's just a conversation that, you know, I'd have to have with him in order to get the endpoints and be able to build out the right infrastructure.
Yeah, 100%. Back to my original question though about like jumping from, you know, Bitcoin runes to alkanes. Will Hustle be able to sign my wallet for me? Because the biggest problem I think right now is like so because it's two transactions there. Can I tell Hustle, hey, like you have permission to sign my wallet to make sure these go through? I'm going to go to the park. Yes.
So the whole premise of Agent Hustle right now is that you have a co-shared or co-managed wallet, right? That's all the different vault addresses that exist in the vault. Hustle has access to that. But he needs your permission if you have the safe mode on. So he'll ask for confirmation each time. Most people turn it off because they just wanted to move fast. Obviously, conditional engine doesn't work as effectively when you have to, you know, ask for confirmation on all of the approvals. So he can sign all of the messages, but he can't move the assets on his own, right? He's still an LLM. He still has to be instructed. So there's no fear of like you walking away and going to the movies, and then all of a sudden he's like sent your money away somewhere, right? Like the AI is just not that capable yet. So you don't have to really worry about that. But yeah, he can sign for it.
That's awesome, because then I can like I guess it'll be conditional as well, right? Like that's the only way conditional will really work is if Hustle has permission and he can ask them. I can give them permission. Hey, once this block clears, do this.
That was the whole idea that Shizzy and I had once we realized AI was coming into the space too, that like it could solve a lot of the Bitcoin not having smart contracts problem, because it's like conditional actions or whatever based on whatever. But I don't know. I think that's probably way further down the line if that even becomes a thing. But you know, with Hustle being able to trade on your behalf, I think it's going to be such a game changer, and it's going to, in my opinion, if this becomes more and more popular, it's going to kill the trading bot industry. Do you think that could happen?
I wouldn't say it'd kill it, but it could definitely replace it and become kind of the incumbent. And the reason why I say that is different generations use different tools. This took me a long time to really kind of understand this. So the people who are using trading bots are going to continue to use them until they're not effective anymore. Like we actually had our friend Ragsy on our Hustle live stream the other day. She's a meme coin trader on Solana. And we were demoing Agent Hustle with her and getting her opinions. And she said, you know, right now I could use this tool to improve, but I have a strategy I've set up with these Telegram bots and Photon and stuff. And until the trenches show me that this is not working, I will be continuing my strategy. So I think this is kind of the state where we are today. I mean, the DeFi AI sector, or you could say the AI agent sector, is literally a few thousand people. Like, it is not big at all. No matter how much marketing people do, how many millions of users they say they have, it's just simply not true. There's literally a few thousand people using this right now. There will be a few game-winning products that completely change the landscape. You know, we're hoping Agent Hustle can be one of those. There's a few other teams that are also building conditional systems as well. I think like Wayfinder, Hayanon, and Banker have also announced some sort of conditional system. The difference, though, is like ours is on Solana, where the other two are on EVM using CowSwap. So they're using another protocol's conditional engine, which is limited to Base and EVM, where ours is basically multi-chain, because we're building an engine. It can be applied to any different type of chain. We're just starting with Solana. So there's going to be competition. And once these things become more ubiquitous in the ecosystem and more people become familiarized with it, then eventually that will transcend the Telegram bot business. But it's probably still a few years away, if I'm going to be completely honest. But if you learn now, you know, you're giving yourself the edge. I mean, we literally have people combining Agent Hustle and astrology to get Bitcoin predictions, and they're hitting winning strategies, right? So you can get real creative in the way, and you don't have to rely as much on quantitative analysis, and you can actually finally focus on qualitative analysis. And that's kind of the beauty of AI agents being applied to crypto.
Yeah, 100%. Really looking forward to seeing what Hustle actually becomes, man. It's gonna be really awesome, especially when everything's in there. But you guys also do have another product, a product that we actually were testing out for you a little bit. Was the Emblem Vault and the Bulkmint feature, right? You are seeing a lot of counterparty seems to be the number one actually really out there doing stuff in the activity. So could you speak a little bit about that? Is there any updates coming for this?
Yeah, so we finally got the bulk minting tool live after years of, you know, requests. Like, the bulk minting tool was a request even before I joined the team. It was pretty difficult to do. Obviously, we had a lot of different things come up in place, and obviously we built a whole new system. We had a small team and scaling, so there's a lot of business operations that got kind of in the way in terms of building this, but it was incredibly difficult. But now that it's here, you can mint up to 10 vaults in a single transaction. I've tested this multiple times. So eventually, you know, we'll scale this out to 20, 30, 50 and be much larger. The next goal for Emblem is to be on Base, is kind of the larger thing. But we've kind of come to a realization with Emblem, and, you know, there's kind of some harder decisions that have to be made, or some like realizations, which is like the NFT ecosystem is still quite dead. Right. So the interest of just moving things across chain is not enough anymore. So in the background, we've been building, I guess you call it a gamified cross-chain application for NFTs specifically. that can kind of aggregate, things like Rare Pepe, CryptoPunks, Solana NFTs, things from Abstract, and kind of unify them all inside of a single dApp for a gamification aspect. And so this is kind of the direction of where we're building Emblem right now. We are just going to continue to deploy. I think like the 3 major chains we want to deploy on is Base, Solana, and Abstract. Those are kind of where all the newer NFTs are being minted. So if we get those 3 and then we compare it to this application that we've been building, I can hopefully take it next stage, because we've been thinking a lot about of multiple things. One is kind of the conversations we have with investors, liquid funds, hedge funds, VCs, etc., about Emblem specifically. And recently, all the conversations kind of come around the same idea, which is that there's not a real narrative driver for Emblem right now because the NFT space is quite dead, right? So, and also ordinals are quite dead, right? So the initial driver, and this is a fault of our own for taking so long, which is okay, but about a year ago, people wanted to move ordinals over to Solana. We kind of missed that boat, although there is still interest, as well as some of the L2s. So we need to figure out a way to kind of drive narrative back to NFTs. And so we think that this application we're building can do that to a degree and then continue to build on. One of the ideas is that for fungible tokens, the kind of like aha moment seems to be launchpads, right? Gamified launchpads is essentially what it is. But that moment has not happened for NFTs. There's no pump fund for NFTs. And I'm not saying a launchpad for NFTs. I'm saying something that gets new people in the door participating in this.
Fun, exciting,
takes the existing value, applies it to what it is. Like the marketplace stuff is kind of, it's there, it's infrastructure. We tried to build a marketplace with Emblem Markets. It's really tough to break into that kind of industry. So you want to take it kind of the next level, which is how do people take all of these NFTs with all of this value in aggregate and the 150 million in Rare Pepe and Bitcoin NFT volume that sits in Emblem, and how do you let people put this to work? How do you let people put that to use, right? There are different applications or NFT applications on other chains which are interested in using this type of technology. The user base isn't there. We also really have to improve Emblem.finance or Emblem.vision. So we're going to be building a new front end, which we've kind of started already. The current Emblem.vision experience we know is, not acceptable for some people. It's a little too confusing. It's not something that, a normie will use per se. And it's 2 years old at this point. So we need to be able to integrate AI into it and make it dead simple. So we've kind of designed a whole new front end that integrates Agent Hustle essentially to make the experience dead simple to then build for this application. So we're kind of building ahead again, and we'll continue to expand chains and find different interests. Like the other day, we had somebody vault multiple Bitcoin puppets and node monkeys to go lend on Gandhi, I think is where they did it. So you get these kind of like, one-off situations. The majority of the minting volume is Rare Pepe and probably will continue to be for a while. But we need to take it up a notch. We really need to revolutionize the industry for NFTs. And I really think Emblem's probably the only one that can do that, because Emblem Vault is the only cross-chain protocol that supports UTXO assets, EVM assets, SVM assets, and whatever virtual machine chain is popular to support NFTs, like maybe Sui is next.
Yeah, I feel like you guys just need like a nice heavy bull run. If you guys were doing this stuff, and obviously you guys were building back then, but back in like March of 2024 and February 2024, when runestones were going crazy, puppets were going crazy, you probably would have saw an insane amount of actual vaulting to kind of take these different places, because people didn't want to download a Bitcoin wallet, but they still wanted the asset. Especially you had a lot of Solana guys coming to Bitcoin. What if you were able to take those ordinals and stuff that they wanted and just have them on Solana? There might have been a lot of arbitrage that you could actually take advantage of in that sense.
Yeah, it hurt seeing that bull run, and essentially we missed it. It hurts the business, it hurts the bottom line, but it's just the situation that we were in. We're in a scaling opportunity. When I joined the company and Adam I joined, we were teammates, 3 and 4. And Shannon was the sole developer up until literally that point, until like February, March of last year. So now we have 4 developers, and we brought on the second or the third and fourth developer this year. So, or I guess you'd say all 3 of them, because we rotated one of them as well. So I think from a development standpoint, the team is really cooking now. It's like the first time where we have 4 developers who are all working on different projects that are unencumbered by one another, which took literally almost 3 years to get to. And if anyone's a builder, there's a lot of kind of bottlenecks that happen where development is delayed because you have one person on the team who can only do it, but then that one person also has other tasks, and so they become kind of bogged down. So now we're kind of moving Shannon full time to the AI side of things, and then we have another developer who's taking over the Emblem Vault side of things, which will be the first time in the history of the company. And so that unlocks just a lot of creative output, which makes it really exciting for kind of what's to come.
Yeah, man, definitely. I just meant it for like you guys are going to be this time around. I mean, obviously we're going to get another bull run, and it's going to be maybe even double the size of the last one, because technically that was a bear market, right? We were just lucky to be in something super early. But if we get a bull run and ordinals are moving, I mean, you guys are going to be sought after for sure.
That's the goal. I mean, from the teams we talk with, the foundations that we talk with, there's still a lot of interest in Bitcoin assets on XYZ L2s or XYZ chain. Like that seems to be the consensus. And they like it. The question then is like, how do we incentivize people to move the assets over? And I think that's the part that's kind of still in the building stages of things, right? Like if you, for example, with Abstract, I've talked with them many times, they're interested, or at least that was the conversation a few months ago. But you look at the ecosystem, there's no incentive to move over outside of points farming, which people kind of get tired of doing. There's no NFT applications to like take your NFT, import value, farm for these tokens or lend against or use in this game. Like that infrastructure just doesn't really exist yet, although it's being built. And I think like one of Emblem's like probably final destinations is actually moving gaming assets across chains and into other ecosystems. Take a, whatever Bitcoin gaming asset and then, or a bitmap and import it into, other side or, kind of vice versa, taking this PFP from Solana, importing it into, other side. I use that because that's like supposed to be the big game, and moving your PFP characters around. Like that's probably a massive, probably a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for Emblem. But the gaming sector is obviously still in building mode. It's been in building mode for a few years. There's probably a few years still left to go before that's a reality. So we kind of have to continue to just build out the infrastructure and identify opportunities and be able to hop on them immediately when those are happening, or else we kind of miss the boat, which has happened a few times already. So, we're keeping our eyes open and continuing to grow. And I still think this Emblem can be one of the most valuable companies in the industry, simply just because I compare it to the Web3 Amazon, which is like, you're going to have billions of NFTs, by the end of the decade. Most of them probably being valueless NFTs for games and stuff. And just like the real world moves assets, between countries, between states, between cities, just as Amazon does, that'll be a reality in the crypto space. The question is, is that a year away? Is that a year away, or is that a decade away?
Yeah.
And, that's the $1 billion question.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I just feel like the NFT space and the digital asset space and that non-fungible is just so early, because there's a collector aspect to that, right? So we always need a bull run, because I feel like it's the bull run, which is Bitcoin, the majors, then mid caps, we're still in fungible, and then it gets to like the NFTs that we have to be in risk on for a minute, and then it gets to the NFTs. But you guys are doing exactly what I said, what my mom would tell me, and it's control what you can control.
Yep.
But don't worry about what you can't control, and creating a gamified platform or something is something that you can control. So I think that's really smart that you guys are doing that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for when we release that. I think the goal is to release it around kind of the keys TGE, maybe slightly after it, so that Keys will definitely be the fungible token asset for that protocol as well, as the Sensorium token remains isolated to the AI sector of things. Eventually, maybe crossbreed them together, but that's Emblem's brand is cross-chain NFTs. So we need to be able to innovate in the industry again, and again and again, build for ourselves and not rely on narratives. We need to create the narrative instead of trying to hop on it.
Love it.
Yeah, man. Well, this has been absolutely amazing, Jake. Thank you so much for joining us, man. We'd love to give you the stage one last time. Tell the audience.
Just check out Agent Hustle. The use is continuing to grow. I think July is going to be the biggest month Hustle's ever had. As long as we can continue to execute on the plans and strategies that we have. There's a longer marketing strategy. There's a longer token strategy. There's a longer product strategy that we're creating. Obviously, right now I'm on your show. Adam is on another show talking about Agent Hustle, right? So there's definitely showcasing happening as we continue to grow. And just go to agenthustle.ai, check it out, use it, follow the Twitter account as well. Really just, become familiar with it. Give us your feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Like that's all completely fine with me. And buy some Tensorium, get a stake into the ecosystem. It's going to be something you're going to want to look forward to. Big announcement coming next week from the Agent Hustle account. So set the notifications, follow the account, and stay tuned. It's going to be a fun Q3. Make or break it.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, make sure you're following the X accounts so you get that notification, because I feel like it's going to be a big announcement next week. And Jake, we appreciate you for dedicating an hour each week to talk to the audience. Right? Don't have that very often from like CEOs of companies. So thank you so much.
Yeah, always enjoy the conversation. Have a good weekend, guys, and everyone watching. See you next week.
All right, take it easy.
Absolutely awesome as always, man. Thank you so much to you guys, dude. We got 562 people here on YouTube and X, not to mention everyone on Twitch, Rumble, Abstract, and Spotify later. Yeah. It's been a week to kind of forget a little bit and then kind of move on. I can't wait to move on to next week. But
yeah. 566 people on a bloody Friday. You guys are dedicated, but that's why you are going to make it, right? The people that pay attention whenever things aren't great are the ones that learn consistently. And we thank you guys for supporting us. Without you guys, we couldn't do this. So thank you so much. But also, if you wouldn't mind checking out our partners as they help us allow us to do this on a day-to-day basis during the week, we would greatly appreciate it. Sats Terminal is the DEX aggregator swap for the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to swap for Bitcoin runes, you got to do it at satsterminal.com. Why? Because you will earn Amber points. If you connect your wallet for the very first time, you actually earn 1,000 Amber points. Amber points are going to go towards giving back to the early adopters of Sats Terminal. The team has already announced that. So there's different ways that you can kind of multiply your chances to earn Amber. If you follow their X account, you can see the different ways to be a part of the Amber is Forever campaign as well. So if you're looking to swap for runes, they have all the runes there. They're going to have the most liquid, the best pricing, alkanes as well. They have alkane support there too. So head over to satsterminal.com today, join their community through their Discord, and you can ask all the questions you got. And then BetBTC is the predictions marketplace of the Bitcoin ecosystem. They utilize ICP and Bitcoin's tech stack to allow you to place bets in their markets. Right now you can actually place bets in their Blitz markets, which is a 10-minute market that allows you to kind of lock in the price of Bitcoin, BNB, or Solana. If you think it's going up or down, you can choose, and then you get an additional 10 minutes to see if you were right or wrong there, right? Also, you can create your own markets in the near future where you can earn 1.5% of the total volume traded, as well as refer a friend that you can earn 1% of the total volume traded through them. So head over to betbtc.win, learn all about that platform there. And then Emblem Vault, we just went over them, but they are the interoperability tooling for the Bitcoin ordinal ecosystem. You're going to be able to jump your ordinals and actually Bitcoin NFTs from Counterparty over to Ethereum, Base, Abstract, eventually Solana. That the whole goal is to make everything cross-chain, right? And they want to be that main layer for that. So eventually you're going to be able to use Agent Hustle, we just went over to help you vault the actual NFTs and ordinals and take them over for you. But right now you can use Agent Hustle. If you go to agenthustle.ai, you can use him to kind of guide you through the trenches of Solana, right? You can use him as kind of like I guess like an advisor or whatever. You can ask him, hey, plug in the contract, tell me about this token, and he'll give you a breakdown, good and bad, of why that token, you know, you should maybe consider or not consider that token. Also, you can ask him simple questions like, give me a safe 5x. He'll give you a couple different options there. So right now it's free. It's not there's not a subscription yet, but they are going to come, so you can actually test it out. So I would advise test it out. Right, use it, utilize it while you can, and if you like it, you can subscribe at a later date. In the future, they will have a TGE rune for the entire ecosystem, the Emblem founder vault keys, I should say. If you head over to OpenSea right now, you can actually participate in their pre-sale for that. It's an NFT, but once you get to September, October, and once that TGE is happening, they will give you instructions on how to get those Bitcoin runes into your Bitcoin wallet. Head over to emblem.vision today to dive into their documentation and join their community that way. And then Artura.finance is the perps and leverage DEX of the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you're looking to trade on leverage Bitcoin fungibles like Dog Go to the Moon, $1 Billion Cat, Ordi, or Sats, you're going to be able to do so through Artura.finance. You can also trade for traditional tokens like XRP, Tau, and Ethereum. But if you're not a trader, you want to participate in the ecosystem, you can add liquidity to their staking vaults and add passively that way. Make sure you dive into their doc so you know how their platform works. They're going to be launching on Botonic, Spider Chain, Bitcoin Layer 2. There's going to be a co-promotion there, so you want to take advantage of that, as well as shortly after that, they're going to be launching on Hemi, Bitcoin Layer 2. So follow their X account, and also check out some of the videos we've done with some of their traders in their community to give you guys some tips. Head over to Artura.finance today. And then Fluid tokens, we talked about them earlier. UTXO Wizard devs started off on Cardano, still building there, but worked their way to Bitcoin. And they were the first to offer staking vaults on Bitcoin Layer 1 for retail users. They have had 2 staking vaults for Dog Go to the Moon, Season 1 and Season 2. Season 2, you can still claim. If you haven't claimed, make sure you go and do that. You'll get your original tokens that you staked plus your reward in one transaction. But Season 3 is coming up, and it should be towards the end of July or the beginning of August. So make sure you're going to be ready for that. If you want to create a staking vault, you got to have at least somewhat of an established community, and then you can head over to their Discord, and they have a team waiting to answer your questions there. Lastly, on the Bitcoin side, the airdrop tool. If you're looking to airdrop runes, you got to use their tool because it's really cost efficient. You can use a CSV file, which is an Excel, or a Google Sheets file with pre-propagated addresses from your community members, or you can do it manually one by one. It's very cheap and quick. And then on the Cardano side, we went over the Aquarium in a pre-record today's platform. So make sure you check that out once we release it this weekend. But you can take advantage of earning Babel fees that way. It's really interesting. It's a really cool way to not have to use your ADA for gas fees. You can use other tokens like FLDT, and you can also use, you can set up scheduled payments, which is actually really cool. So if you're a founder of a project within Web3, you can schedule recurring payments. It's wild where we've come to in this space, but this is the new financial system, right? So head over to fluidtokens.com. Make sure you join their Discord, and you can ask all the questions you have. And then Tokyo Wallet is the multi-chain smart wallet. If you have an Apple iPhone, head over to the Apple App Store, download the app there. Or if you have an Android, you can head over to Google Play and download the app there. Tokyo's partnered with aggregators on both Bitcoin and Cardano. So you can actually swap for Bitcoin runes through the Bitcoin side, through Sats Terminal. And then for the Cardano side, you can swap for other Cardano tokens, as they have an aggregator on that side. There's going to be staking and different also features that are going to be kind of revolving around their token as well. So make sure you're following their X account for those updates. But you can find us on there in their alpha section, as they have an alpha section for YouTube channels there. So check out their app. Let us know what you think. Head over to Tokyo.io today. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength with the power of AI. You can utilize their AI tool called 0.03 Wizard. That's the latest version. It can guide you through the ecosystem. The Wizard can actually do DeFi actions for you, staking, swapping, bridging, stuff like that, right? But speaking of staking, you can participate in the proof of stake system that they have there to help secure the chain. They have two different options. They have the flexible options, which is a day-to-day, and then you can actually take your rewards every day from this. It's a 15% APR. When you do withdraw, it does take 7 days, so just keep that in mind. On the longer 6-month locked up period, it's called the bonded period. You actually earn 45% APR, but you can also withdraw those rewards every day. Head over to merlinchain.io to learn more today. And lastly, don't forget about our integrated partners in Jungle, previously Foxy AI, building the metaverse on Bitcoin called the Bitverse, and their first-person shooter game called Cypher Striker. And they also added support to Bitcoin Derby as well. And don't forget about Ordinal Hive, the Ordinal aggregator marketplace. Cheapest ordinals around will be at Ordinal Hive. Thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep, great job, man. As always, we have a few comments in here that I just want to get to real quick. Superfan said, "Dang, I'm late." Mogar says, "Who in the chat held Bitcoin before this year?" He said, "I gotta be honest, I just started staking." Paulie says, "BTC bottomed in mid 2022. This cycle has been running for 2.5 years already. Super could ensure 4-year cycle and could play out exactly." Yeah, potentially. I mean, we'll see. Hydrosapien said, "Let's go OnChain Revolution. Dog go to the moon." Yeah, love this guy, man. Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, Hydrosapien, for being here every single day. Stan says, "Ordinals to Soul. Wow, Hyperliquid proves even with limited dev numbers you can W 100% with Hypermall demo. Where did the channel grab the dog? And how did the channel deposit the dog into?" So I in the video I grabbed the address and then went to my wallet, my Xverse wallet, and I send it from the Xverse wallet. But yeah, I should have probably showed that now thinking about it, but I mean it's super simple. Just go to your dog and just send it to the address. Marley Man said, "Can anybody answer what standardized value does any asset, whether physical or not, have outside the fiat standard valuation?" Any idea what he's talking about here?
Sounds like he's talking about like standardizing like any type of asset that's not like fiat, right? So I guess like standardizing a value to like cards or standardizing a value. I don't know. We're so used to standardizing everything based off of fiat. Everything's based off of a fiat standard. Bitcoin's the only one
Oh
that's
no.
trying.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's the only one that's trying to change that, and I think that it's the only one that has a shot to change it. Everything else doesn't, because it hasn't been that powerful enough to where people say. And I think that's why a lot of people, the maxis, want Bitcoin to be used in day-to-day payments, so it can be the new standard. But yeah, that's a good philosophical question, I guess you could say, because like we just don't see that right now, and obviously what that does is it creates a new system.
Yeah, we won't though with the stablecoin bill going through. I mean, I think stablecoins are going to be here to stay. But he said, but Bitcoin itself is fiat value.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I said it's not there yet, but
one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, right? At the end of the day. So I mean, does it have value? It's just what someone else is willing to pay for it. Like I can value Bitcoin in cars, right? I can say, hey, 3 Honda Civics 2020s is 1 Bitcoin, right? You can value it in anything you want. It's just the chosen value is
yeah. And this is actually not completely true, his statement there, because that's where on-chain economies come in. They actually don't use a fiat system necessarily. If you look at Magic Eden right now, all of the ordinals are priced in sats or Bitcoin, right? And so yes, you can turn the fiat side on, but Ethereum, same thing. Everything's valued in ETH, like when you talk about NFTs. So this is where crypto has kind of changed this, but outside of it, fiat still runs the world, and because of that, that's why people are exchanging their crypto for fiat and just buying whatever, because what the regular society hasn't adopted to just like, okay, crypto is, that's changing though. People are gonna, they're starting to take crypto, and we'll see what the world is like in 20 years.
And he finishes up here. He says, well, if there to be a standard value, then transfer of wealth would still be top down. It's always going to be top down.
It's because there's a process. If there was a night and day process, then maybe not. But like, because there's a process of transitioning into this new system, they still are the rich ones. You know what I mean?
Doesn't matter. 100%. Unless you bought Bitcoin for $1 and you're still holding it to stay, then you win. But if you guys have a few more minutes, wouldn't mind checking out OnChainRevolution.io. Some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering the space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and code up to where we are today. Brand new article dropped this week. Pump funds count got suspended. Find everything you need to know about that in that article. If you guys need a VPN, I highly recommend everyone have a VPN. My VPN choice is Nord. You guys can get a 70% off here. It's $3 a month. I think I locked it in for 2 years. Set it, forget it. See you later. Download your Nord VPN today. Do not be going to these websites without it, guys. Do not want to give your IP address to these people because that can lead them to your address. You don't want that. I don't want that. And then on top of that, if you guys don't mind checking out our merch, we have some of the best merch in all of crypto, in my opinion. Check it all out here at OnChainRevolution.io. And guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys, until Monday.
Peace.
OnChain Revolution roll call. Market recap. You not bullish enough. No. You're not bullish enough. No. Look at the price go. Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction.